Alright, it's time. We need to make a start on the storage area. Let's get some digging done. And as you can see, we made a decent start there, got tons of digging done, and a little bit of the framework of where everything's going to go. And I've even started putting some items in here as well, just as placeholders so I can see how this is going to work. Now, I do have some bad news. The good news is getting all this done, but the bad news is I lost a netherite pickaxe. So I did have 4, and I was a bit absent-minded, just mining away, probably watching a video at the same time, and yeah, it just went all the way down to 0 and broke. So I've been across to my gold farm, got a few spare diamond ones, and I've upgraded those to netherite, so I have 5 silk touch netherite pickaxes now. And it doesn't matter how many of these things I have, it always hurts when I break one. Never mind. So yeah, this is where we are at the minute, and I've decided to go for the dark prismarine, because I do keep saying this is like the main block that represents the city, so I thought I should really use it in here for my main storage area. So let's have a look at what we've done. So mainly, we've got this long walkway, and we've got these sections of 8 chests in a row, and these are going to be 4 high. Like, we've already had a look at this over here, so this is like one slice of it, so every bit of this is going to be like this, which is a bit crazy. But then we also need to have the redstone at the back that does all the item filters as well. We need glass around the edge of here, all the water going along there. Then we need some stuff up there to separate the water streams. We also need some blocks to align the items, and that's mainly honey blocks, and I did do the other thing, the sea pickles. So where are these things here? So if you put 2 sea pickles down and an item flows into the side of them in water, it'll align them perfectly along the edge. So that's why we get the sea pickles. And what I've done down here, I just put some coral down here, and I've been bone milling the sea pickles, and that's where I've got those from. Right, so for the layout of this, the traditional thing to do is to have a big hole like this, and then at the end of it, a big circle, and then you'll have holes going off in the other directions, which is, as you can see, that's kind of what I started doing here. But I think I want to do something a little bit different, and that's why I've spaced these 3 wide. You normally have a gap of 1 or 2 between these sections, but what I've done here, I don't think I've dug down yet. I've done a little bit of testing, but what I think I want to do is to have, oh, did I do it over here? Yeah, possibly. So what I was thinking was we could have the copper golems and the bulk storage below. So rather than running up and down, and it is pretty quick running up and down, so it's not that much of an issue, because I've got soul sand below these slabs, and I do have soul speed on my boots, so running up and down here is pretty quick. And this one I've built here is nowhere near as long as some of the ones that I've seen in the past, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem running up and down here. But I do think it'd be quite interesting to see if I could put the other stuff below here. It might work out that I can't do that, but that is the plan for now. But anyway, that is something, it's slightly in the future, because I think what I'd like to do today is just get this main one done here. Now, I do have a few issues. There are some things that I still need to get. I do have all the redstone for it, obviously, but the thing that I'm really struggling for, would you believe, is wood to craft all the chests. Now, I do have plenty of wood. It's just I don't really want to use any of like the decorative wood types like this. What I'd really like to do is get some bamboo going, but that is a job on its own, and I don't have tons of time to get this done. So I may just have to sacrifice some like my jungle wood or my birch. I know I've got loads of both of those, and I don't really use them much for building at the minute. So maybe if I grab a shulker box of birch, I can just use that. I know I've got a couple of boxes of that anyway. So we can get the chests and the hoppers crafted from that. The other thing I'm kind of struggling for is hay bales, which may sound a bit strange, but we need those to craft the target blocks. And the reason for that is there is something else that I didn't cover last time. I went through all the item filters last time that go behind these things, and we had a look in a creative world at some of the stuff that we're going to be doing. But there is one thing that I didn't cover, and that is we're going to lock all the hoppers by default. So having tons of hoppers down here like this is going to cause a lot of lag, latency, whatever you want to call it, and that's not a good thing, especially as this storage room is in like my main city, and I'm going to be spending a lot of time here doing a lot of building and a lot of other stuff, so those hoppers active all the time would be a big problem. So there is some tricky redstone that we need to do, and that is when we have stuff going into this item elevator here, there's going to be water in here, and there's going to be a dropper on the side of here sending things into it with an auto dropper circuit on the side. That auto dropper circuit is going to be the thing that controls everything else around here. So from that, we're going to take a signal, put it into a pulse extender that makes the signal last a lot longer. And what that will do, it will unlock all of the hoppers, hopefully to give it enough time. So all the items are going to go up to this top one here, around this top ice, drop down to the next one, around there, drop down to the third one, around there, and then finally drop to the fourth one and go all the way around that way. So we need to make sure that all of those hoppers are unlocked until it gets past this last hopper here, or the ones that are on the back of there for the item filter anyway. And to do that, we're going to need to use target blocks because the redstone is quite tight behind here. So we're going to need target blocks all the way along here. So the redstone lines come along and then we can lock the hoppers to make sure in general it's not going to be too much of an issue. So I think first thing I'm going to have to do is go actually do a wheat harvest, isn't it? Because I don't think I've got any. I just checked in this little storage area up here. Now, I did think this was quite big when I originally did it, but it compared to what I've got down there now, it just looks real tiny and cramped. So I'm really glad I'm doing this. But I don't think I've got any here anyway. I did just grab what I had and crafted about 5 target blocks, I think. So it's not a lot at all. There's no wheat in there. No hay bales anywhere. So yeah, I'm going to have to go get some. Right, so I've had a bit of a look around and I couldn't find any hay bales or wheat stored anywhere. I don't know what I've done with it all. So yeah, I've just come over here to have a look at this. And look, all these hay bales here. I probably could dig these up, but that look nice, don't they? So yeah, we'll just leave those there and just do this thing. And this I've been doing a lot recently. Not in this world, but in my super flat 300 days video that I'm recording at the moment, all I seem to be doing is harvesting wheat. So I could have done without doing this, but never mind. I'll get this done, get some hay bales crafted up, and then we can get back to actually doing some redstone. Right, so after spending about 3 Minecraft days harvesting those wheat fields, I now have over 4 stacks. And I think, if I've done my calculations correctly, I need 3 stacks and 48. So should be more than enough there. So I'll get these turned into target blocks, and apart from the chests and hoppers, I think that is everything we need to get this thing up and running. Right, so I've got all those target blocks crafted up, and I have just noticed when I came back through this nether portal, you definitely feel that this area is struggling a little bit, and I don't even have half the hoppers in yet. I've got them in these bottom sections, but these are actually all below inventories, so they shouldn't actually be causing that much of a problem, but I do feel it as I come through here, so I definitely want to get these hoppers all locked. So what we're going to do, I'm going to use orange terracotta for all my redstone lines just because it's the thing that I have an absolute ton of, and then I'm going to put target blocks down here with redstone dust going along here, and this is going to go all the way along. We're going to have repeaters in between these sections just to extend it all the way down, and then don't need another one there, yes, and there. And all the target blocks do is just redirect the redstone when it's going in a line like this. If we had another block like that, it wouldn't go into it, but then if we put the target block there, it will redirect and go into there. So that's the only reason we're using those. And all we need to do now really is just power this redstone line from down there somewhere, and then we're going to have some fancy redstone to turn that off when items are going through the system. But before we get on that, I think what I want to do is just get all of these target blocks in for the hoppers that I've placed already, and then we can hook up some redstone and get this thing working. Okay, so much time later, and I've got all of those target blocks in, and I didn't need as many as I thought. Well, you only need these to lock the hoppers at the bottom 2 filters. The top 2 are done slightly differently. Top one is nice and simple, even though there's a lot of redstone, and the second one down, I don't really understand how it works, to be honest, and a couple of the schematics I've seen don't even have those locked, so that might be a little bit more complicated, and we might need to leave those. But as long as we get the majority of them locked, that'll do for me. And that isn't all I've got done. I've also built up this section pretty much to completion. So we've got all of the chests and the hoppers in there. We've got all the hopper locking done for this, apart from the one I said in the middle, it's a bit weird. So I need to try and figure that out. But I've also done the item filters on the bottom layer, and I've done all of the item filters for one slice up here, just so I can see it working, and then if it's okay, I can just copy that down and not really have to think too much. So where do we start explaining this? Yeah, so I got the redstone in down here. So it is just one torch going up one line. So let's have a look at this down here. So this is where it's all going to start. So we have what's going to be a bubble elevator over here. There's going to be a dropper. Actually, let's just put that there now. There's going to be a dropper on top of this block, like that. And then we're going to have an auto dropper circuit coming off this. And it's going to be a fancy observer type one. And then we're going to read a signal off that to come up here. And it's going to turn off that redstone torch. And then after a huge amount of delay, enough for all the items to get round to the last hopper, that'll turn back on again and relock all of the hoppers. So we're going to do that redstone in a minute. But let's just try and follow this line a little bit. So it comes up here, firstly, and then it goes along there behind these target blocks, and that goes all the way down to the end. That's nice and simple, and I'm going to freak on this because getting around this thing is such a pain. So after that, it comes up these last blocks to make it nice and easy to move the signal up, and then it goes across these droppers, and that does two things. One, it does these target blocks here, but what it'll also do is lock, if I'm actually going to turn on mini HUD as well so we can see. If we look at the hopper, if we look at the top left of my screen, it says enabled false, so you can see there that those are all disabled. This one here is disabled by the item filter, so we don't need to worry about that one. That will only activate when there's enough items in this, and then that redstone will turn it on, and then this redstone here is locking these two here. And then before we go further up the glass, this redstone can go up these slabs as well, and that will lock this hopper here. Then we have the weird bit that's completely empty at the minute, I'm not 100% sure how that works. And then at the top, it's nice and simple, there's just a lot more to it though. So we come right up to the top here, and we have these three redstone lines going down here, just for repeaters to extend them, and these will lock all of the hoppers that are going to be behind here. So we have this one for the item filter, this one is locked by the filter, and then we have these ones here that are going to be locked by this line, and then a few more further down. So we've got these ones, yeah, we've already said that one, haven't we? So yeah, we've got three lines there to lock the three lots of hoppers, and the one in the middle is done by the item filter. So that is on both sides, but as you can see, we don't have many of the hoppers or the chests in just yet, so it is only this section I've built up. But I think what I want to do is actually test it. Now that could be a bit difficult, because what I did start doing was putting in the glass for the water stream, but that was a bit silly because to build the item filter I need to stand facing this way to place the comparators down, and yeah, I couldn't do that, so I had to break the glass, which means I'm going to have to do that all the way along. So I only did that on the bottom layer, and then further up I can just build the item filters first and then get that in. So probably not the best section to test first, but I think getting this redstone done down here first would make sense, and then it's basically just a grind to get everything else built and get all the filters set up and everything, which is going to be a pain because getting inside there to put the filter items into the hoppers, that is also a massive pain. So anyway, let's start with the simple stuff. I say simple, but it's not that simple. So what I'm going to do first, we'll do the auto dropper circuit, because this is slightly different how I normally do it. So we've just have a look at the one I normally do. It's something like this. So I usually have a dropper like that, comparator coming out the back, that goes into a block, and a block there. We have a repeater coming off the back of this, and redstone dust, like that. Any items that come into here just get chucked out by this very simple thing. But there are more advanced ways of doing that now, and they're much neater than this, and that is by using observers and note blocks. So that's what we've got over here. So we've got a note block down here, so we're just going to read the bottom of this, and this is basically just going to do like an infinite clock that we're going to turn off when there's nothing in there. So it's like the opposite of doing that. This turns on when there's something in it. This is going to turn off the clock when there's something in it. So note block there, and then we're going to do this, and then if we just click one of these note blocks, that is going to do an infinite clock there. So that's very annoying. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to put a torch on top of here. So let's turn that off because that is constantly powered now, and this block and observers can't do anything to it. So if we put a comparator there, that will now turn off that torch, and this will carry on. So if I just let's put them repeaters in there, that's going to do that. It's going to spit them out into this thing. So we don't have the bubble elevator in yet, so I'll just pick those up. So from here, we want to take a signal off it and do some fancy things, but I feel like I should explain some of this circuit first before I get it all built. So let's just rip this out, and I've got some space over here because I don't think anything needs to go over here, so I'll just do a few example things. So if we just take a lamp as an output, we can see what we're trying to do. So we'll put that, actually let's grab a few and we'll do a few separate things. Right, so what I'm looking at here is turning a pulse that's going to come from this. So let's just put an observer down, and we can put it off pretty much any block of this. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but if we just do that in there, you see we'll get a pulse off this. But we want to turn that into a really long signal that's going to turn on all of these hoppers while this is doing something, and for a long time after it's finished the last one as well. So as you see now, after I take those out, that's stopped. But I don't want all of these to lock straight away after that. I want them to stay unlocked for quite a while. Right, so if we start off with a really simple example, what we're trying to do here is, once I press this button, this lamp's going to turn on. But when the button is released and there's no signal from that, this turns off straight away, which I know, very obvious, but this is kind of the problem that we're trying to solve here. Wants the lamp to stay on after the button is finished. So what we can do is use a pulse extender. So if we put down two comparators in opposite ways like this, and then if we have redstone at each end, and then we'll put the lamp off the back of there, that won't work, needs to do that. And then if we take this button, I can also do it from the same button. So we'll see, if we press this, once this goes off, that will go off, but this one will stay on for a little bit longer. So this is like a decay clock. So you saw there, that stayed on much longer than this one after this button had been released. So that is the kind of thing we want to do, but it's nowhere near long enough, is it? So what we could do, and you see people do this a lot, is the more of these we have in, the longer it will last. So let's just see what it looks like with the next one, and do that again. This should stay on for much longer now. So you can see the numbers going down the redstone, which is very handy. But yeah, that's gone off, and that's much better. And we could run these like the whole length of this room, but it still wouldn't be enough. I need a few minutes out of this basically. So what we're going to do is do something similar to this, but a little bit different. So we'll still do two, and have one going like that. And then instead of having the two redstone at one end, we're going to have a block. So we're going to use the orange terracotta, because that is our standard thing. And if we take the lamp again, I'll put that there. This should work exactly the same as the other one, if I put the redstone on it. Well, actually, I think that takes longer, doesn't it? Yeah. It's roughly the same amount. So anyway, what we're going to do, we're not going to do this. We're going to put another block over here. Now, this does something very different. So if we press this, once the button goes off, this doesn't go off at all. This will now stay on and keep everything powered. So that's better, but it's still not right, is it? Because it defeats the object of actually locking the hoppers. So what we're going to do instead is put a comparator here and turn this one into subtract mode. So when we give this a signal, it'll subtract that from the signal that we've got in here. So if we give it a signal of 8, it's going to take 8 from 15, and this will then be 7. So what we want to do though is give it a signal of 1, and then it's just going to take 1 off every time this is pulsed. So the easiest way to do that is with a dropper and a hopper. So we'll put the dropper facing this way and the hopper into that, not like that. And if we just put one item into here, one stackable item, and then we give this a pulse, like that, that has read 1 off that item and taken 1 from there. And then, because the hopper is facing into here, it just comes straight back into the dropper, like that. So that's gone on to 13 now, and then we can just do that, and it's going to keep going down. So that is exactly what we want, but we need to do a timer for this. So, and this is the controllable bit. As long as we have something pulsing this at a regular interval, this is eventually going to decay all the way down, and the hoppers will get locked again. So you have options here. There's different things you can do. You can do like a standard ether hopper clock, or any other kind of timer that you want. You could actually do another one of these if you want, but that would be quite quick. So I'm going to show you the redstone latch that I like using. So if I can remember how to build this. So it involves 4 hoppers and 4 comparators, and it is a really cool thing actually. It took me a while to get my head around it, but let's just give it a go. So what we'll do is 2 blocks, and then comparators facing away, and that's because we're going to have hoppers behind here. So let's just put these down, and with most hopper timers, they are facing into each other, just like that. And then we're going to put blocks there, and those are going to have redstone torches on top. So whichever one of these has got an item inside it is basically going to turn off the redstone torch. Now, if we just put items into this now, or one item is just going to go in this one, they're just going to flick back and forth. So we need a way of locking this so this will stay a little bit longer. And the way we do that is, again, with 2 hoppers OPS. Let's do that like that. And then we're going to have blocks on top of this, and that's how we're going to lock these with this one, like this. So if we put more items in there, because if you do this with single items, it doesn't work very well. So if we put a few in there, that is now going to lock until they've all gone into the other side. And then when they all get to the other side, it's going to unlock this, and then that's going to allow that to transfer. So you can see that is now quite a long time. So we are going to put more items in there. I need to work out how many I need, depending on how long it takes for all the experiments to get around the water stream. But what we can also do is if we just put a torch on there, that's going to flash every now and then. And this is the risky bit, which I thought was a bit crazy at first. But what we can do here is if we put a dropper on there with a hopper facing into it, that is going to get pulsed every now and then. There we go. So what we can do is, this is exactly what we've got here. And we can also, if we take another comparator, run that off the side of there like that, and then that will turn this off. So we're basically just going to build this on the side of this thing, and then that is going to be the pulse that will allow this to decay and eventually turn the hoppers back on up there. So the risky thing here, which I didn't like at first, but it does actually work really well, is once an item goes into this hopper, why doesn't it drain down there? Well, the thing is, when this is pulsed, so we can see it, this torch comes on at the same time. So that is never actually going to lose the item down here. So let's just test that. We've got terracotta in there, so we'll use a different item to be sure of it. So let's just do that. Oh, once we see this signal come off here, that means it's gone into the hopper and then back into the dropper. Right, let's try placing this again because it's been a bit annoying. Right, so I triggered it there. Right, I don't know what's going on here. This has been really annoying, but for some reason, the way I normally build it, and I've built this a few times, this is not working. This is not firing when this torch goes off because this says triggered, and these two don't say triggered, and they've run a few times now, and every time this torch flashes they do the thing and the redstone comes back. So I'm going to get this built up where I'm going to do it over there, and hopefully we won't have this problem, but if not, it's not that big a deal. I just need to put the dropper on the other side of where I was going to do it. So yeah, this is all just down in the balls anyway that we're not going to look at, so if it's not too neat, not a problem. But yeah, that is basically all we're doing. We're just taking the signal of this extended clock, and we can put a lot more items in here, so it'll take longer. And then we're going to pulse this. Once this decays, the signal is going to go all the way up there. Actually, it's just going to turn on this torch, and then that means all the hoppers will be locked again. So it's basically just this and this, and we're good. So I'll get all that in, and then hopefully this will work. Right, so I've got that all built up here now, and I'm happy to report this is working. This hasn't stayed on triggered, and I know the reason why this one's doing it now, or was doing it. So it won't be doing it now. Let's have a look. Yeah, so it's not triggered, and the reason it stayed triggered was because this redstone on top of this block was powered, and like quasi connectivity, don't know how, just magic basically, it was keeping that powered, so it wasn't working properly. So when I actually activated this one, it meant that this was working, and it took me a while to figure out that that was a problem, but that's the reason. That's why it wasn't working. So at least I know, and I'm not going crazy and doing things wrong, but this is all now working. And it looks a bit complicated, but it's exactly as I said. It's that circuit there with this bit going into the side of it. So have a look here. This is just the comparator decay clock with blocks at each end, and this one is a glass block. I'll explain that in a minute. And then we just have the redstone torch on the other side, and this is just the output of this basically. So when this is off, this will be powered, but we can actually activate this now. So what I'm going to do is run this from here, and this isn't the final thing, so don't copy this if you're following along, because I need to make a change to this. I just want to show you the problem first. So this is a redstone torch tower, and this block is off at the minute. So just to activate this, I can just press this button and it'll turn it on and put the power to 15, and I think we have 8 blocks in this one at the minute. Yeah, so when that triggers, it'll go in there, and this counts down by 1 every time. So that is working perfectly. So I'll just wait for that to finish, and then we can actually test it properly with this, and it won't work, but I'll show you why. Right, so once this one gets 0, that'll turn back on. Right, that's great. Right, so the reason we have this glass block here is because we have a redstone torch under here locking this hopper. So it just means that this, if we didn't do this, this would just be going back and forth all the time, and it's just to save that really. We're just locking that, and then to kick this in, we also have some redstone dust just below this block here. So when this block is powered, when this is on, that'll turn off that redstone torch down there, and then this clock can do its thing. So now let's see the problem when we just try using this auto dropper. So if we just put that into there, you see this is flashing, which is no good, because that's not going to get the signal up there to kick this in. And even if we put one item in, we still want this to do the whole time. So to fix that, we're just going to put a very basic delay clock like we was looking at earlier, just this one over here, probably just the 2 comparators just down here, and then that should fix that. And that's why I left that too long like that. So we can put that down here, down there, and if we just put redstone dust, which I've got in my offhand, into these 2, that should now work. So if I just put one item into here, that extends that, and then up here, that should now be doing its thing. No, because I didn't put the redstone dust on there, that's why it didn't work. Right, you go there, and let's try that again. So one item in there, that stayed on, and that has now all kicked in, and it's doing its thing, and it'll stay on for whatever length of time that is, which I should really time, because I need to know how long it is to get everything around there, but I need to build everything up before I can get the water streams in. So that is basically our redstone for turning on the hoppers, so this sorting system will work, which is really crazy, because it's like an extra thing to stop the lag, but it's essential. But we can also use this to do some chunk loading as well. So when this is on, we want the chunks to be loaded, and that's so we can go away to another area and this will keep doing its thing. And the reason we want to do that is because we have loose items going through the water streams. If we went somewhere and it was unloaded, I think what happens is the items lose the momentum and they just stay on the ice and basically just despawn, which is not good, is it? But I think that's something for another day. I'm not planning on doing any chunk loading in this episode because that's a whole job in itself, but it's not too difficult to do. Now we've got that clock going, we can just run the signal off there and get some kind of chunk loader going. But for now, yeah, I've just got work to do, haven't I? So I think I just need to knuckle down, get some chests and hoppers crafted, get all this redstone in, and after that we should have a working sorting system. So let's jump into a time lapse and get it done. And after many hours, this thing is now pretty much done. This has taken a while. But the good news is I did pretty much have everything I needed to get everything in. The only thing I actually ran out of was glass, and that includes in my storage area as well. Nothing in there, so I've been back to my trading hall and buying glass off a ton of the villagers just so I can get everything finished off. And I didn't run out, but I was running very low on redstone as well, so I came back across to my witch hut, filled up another shulker box full of redstone blocks. And it was the same thing with the iron as well, because we're using a lot of iron for the hoppers in this. So I filled up 2 shulker boxes of iron blocks as well. And I did actually think I was done. So I've been around and put in all of the dummy items into these hoppers. And this is a good way of checking as well. So once you put these in, this will turn this comparator on. So we can now see, just as we go around, that all the comparators are on. Not these ones at the top, that's something different. The ones that are reading the hoppers through the packed ice, those should all be on now. And when you put the items in, if they drain straight through, that just means that you've missed the torch below. And that does happen, and out of the, how many, like 300 filters I've got in here, I'd missed one of them. It was one of the first ones on the bottom layer as well. I did, so I put that torch in, got the filter back in, and that was all good. So I did all that side first, and then when I came around this way, I realised I hadn't built this top filter at this side, and most of the hoppers down here for the filters I hadn't put in. So that's why I had to go get the iron so I could do the rest of these hoppers. But now I think we're pretty much done. So I've got all of the filters in now. I've got all of the dummy items in the filters. I've got all the hopper locking done. Apart from that one on the 3rd layer, I don't know how that works properly, so I'm going to leave that for now. So the last thing to do, obviously, is just get the water in. We just need to do a couple of bits. We just need some signs here and there. We need an iron trapdoor to group the items together a little bit. Obviously need a bubble column there, so that's a few water sources. So I'm going to go grab some ice, place all the water in, and then I think we should be good for giving this a test. I'm not going to be able to get the shulker box and loader in today, so I think I'm just going to do something manual. I'll just put some items into there, or I could have a hopper and spit things down from above just as a temporary thing. But we are going to put a shulker box loader in eventually, probably next time. But for now, I just want to give this a test because I am running really low on time. I want to get this episode out today and time is marching on. So I'll get the rest of this water in. I'm going to need some honey blocks. I think that's all I need. Oh, I've got the sea pickles along me, so I need the sea pickles, which I've got down here somewhere. You can see items are definitely running out. These are the ones I've just stocked up, so we're good there. But where do I put these? Yeah, sea pickles. So that should be enough of those. Just need to go get a few honey blocks as well. We'll get the water in, and then we can give it a go. Okay, so not too long later, all the water is now in, and that wasn't too bad at all. Just using ice makes it much easier, just breaking that, putting the signs at the end of it, and extending the water around. And I'll show you what we did at the corners, but I've just been having a check of all the filters, and you can see this comparator's off, which means I've got one missing, and that was wrong. I didn't want to jump down here. So, which one was it? I can't... Yeah, that one there. So that comparator's off, which means that this doesn't have the filter in it. So if we just put these into here, They're not draining away, so everything's working properly. I just missed that one. So I'll have another look around, but let's just have a look. Let's just get rid of that. That's in the water stream. I don't want that to go anywhere, even though it shouldn't. Actually, yeah, why not? Let's just throw it in there, and it should end up in the overflow chest that I've done at the end. You just go on there like that. What? Have I not finished this bit? I have not. Right. You go like that. Oh, how long is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, that should stop for the end and not break anything. So let's get rid of that. Yeah, that just goes down there, and then it'll flow back this way. So it's basically just honey blocks keeping everything aligned at the end. So all the items will be halfway over this. So there's 2 ways we need to do it. One on the external corners and one on the internal corners. And this is so slow going down here, isn't it? So once we get down to the end, we come around here, and then we want, on the internal corners, we want to align them this way by putting 2 sea pickles down, and that'll keep them halfway over the edge. So let's see if we can see that. So do that. So that stayed on the edge there, and if there was any filters for orange terracotta down there, that would go into there. So I don't want to go all the way down there because it's really annoying. But what I've done, so it starts at the top, loops round, comes down to the next one, round again, and then this one should be the last one, and it goes down that way. Well, it's not that it should be the last one, it definitely is the last one. So let's just get over here and show you what I've done at the end. Got loads of stuff to tidy up around here as well, but I think at least it should be working. So we should have... Oh yeah, I picked up all that presumably there. So that one orange terracotta that I threw down there, that has ended up in there, which is good. So let's just, before we put any items in properly and set any filters, let's just go up to the top of here, which I've been flying a lot doing this. So let's just go up there. So have a look at this. So the items will come up here. I need to break that and put some kelp in there to turn that into a bubble elevator, so we'll do that in a minute. And then the items are going to come around here, and we have an iron trapdoor here. And what this does, it'll group the same items together. Only into about 4 or 5, but it just means if there's loads of items going around, if they're going around one by one, it's going to create a little bit more lag. So what we want to do is group the items a little bit, not too much though, because if there's too many, they're going to run past the filter. So if I just throw a few down here, we should be able to see that happen. So there's 5 gone there like that. And they do come in much slower than that. They only come in at hopper speed. But then they're going down there. And does that group it together a little bit there as well? Might do. And then they're just going to go along here. And they're going quite fast, are they? I might have to freak on this so I can see them. They've already gone down there. So they should be on the next one now. Should come down here. Let's turn on the hitbox as well. Yeah, so those are coming along here. That's working alright. Onto here. That's aligned properly. And then we should just drop down into the next one. Oh, it looks like that got picked up. Or do we have another one missing? Did it get picked up or am I just too slow? Right, I'm going to do that again because I can't see where they're getting picked up. So let's just put a few of those down there. Those group up a bit. And then if we free cam and watch this down here. All the top ones are okay. Then drop down here. Right, so the first half of the second one's okay. Right, so the second level, all good. Right, so it's this bit here, isn't it? So what's that? First section of the 3rd level. Is that this one? Yeah, they've gone into there. So, oh, I just missed another one. That's all that is. Right, okay. That's annoying. Right, put that there. That was really hard to find, so I hope there's no more things like that. Right. Okay, so I've got those back. Let's give that another go. Let's just have a look. So this is just the overflow chest. So if anything doesn't go into the filters, it should just end up down here. And that was the 8 that pretty much slabs are put in. So that's good. That went all the way around. So now we actually want it to do something, don't we? So I think I'm going to go with this basic layout that I've got here. Obviously, we need to put a lot more in. And actually, while we're down here, let's have a look at the copper golems. Because I've been doing this for so long, these things have actually started oxidizing now. And it took ages for them to go to the 2nd level, but they're now at the 3rd level. So once they go to the 4th, they'll be fully oxidized. And then they turn into copper golem statues, meaning I can pick them up and put them where I want them when I do the next part of the sorting system that's going to use these things. So before we get to that, let's just now set up some filters. And the problem with this system is there's not an easy way of doing this. You have to actually get into the water streams to be able to put anything into the filters, which is a bit annoying. So yeah, unless there's like a bit at the end that we could do, but yeah, so this is this the first line? No, it's not, is it? This is so confusing. I think this one, yeah, this is the first one. Right, so we just need to go along and take, well, one item really. We can put a stack in and it'll go down to 42. The first one I'm going to do is cobblestone and stone. And this, believe it or not, this is the only cobblestone I've got in that storage area. So I don't know where I've put it all, unless I've just been using it to craft redstone stuff like droppers and pistons, that kind of thing. but if we just take a stack of stone, and we'll take all of that cobblestone, it should just come back through anyway, or a little bit of it. So where are we? This one here. So we want the cobblestone in there, and that should drain down to 45, and then, sorry, down to 42, and then stop. Or is it 41? Yeah, 41, so it's 45 total, and those should have gone into this chest. No, they have not. Oh, no. No, they won't. And I know why they haven't. That's because we're not running this, so the redstone down there isn't active, so those hoppers that are below this are actually locked. So we can't actually just put things in manually like this, can we? So where is it? It will have gone into that hopper there, I believe. Unless it's got into this one somehow. So fiddly getting around here. This one. Yeah, so they've gone into there. But that, because that hopper's locked, it's not going to let them go into the chest. Really, we need to put something in here. Even if it's just one item, it'll activate this and unlock all the hoppers. So I'll tell you what, let's just put, not the filters, that's not what we want to do. Let's put 3 scaffolding in there and make sure that that comes back around. So now that those have gone out of there, this will all be active. So this should take a while, depending on how many items I have in here. And I don't have a lot at the minute. What have we got? Only 4. So yeah, that might not actually be enough. So let's just see how that gets on. Turn these on again. See if we can find these scaffolding. Right, so with that unlocked, the cobblestone has gone into there, but I've completely lost where that scaffolding's gone. I can't see it anywhere, so I'm hoping it's still going around and it hasn't got stuck anywhere, because that would be annoying. So actually, as everything's unlocked, maybe I'm just going to have to check all of the chests out here. I don't know if you're aware of this fact, but I'm an idiot. Yeah, I was looking for the scaffolding, but this bubble elevator behind me is not a bubble elevator yet, so it just sat on the soul sand. Right, so bubbles are now bubbling, and I did just test it again, and we had another filter missing, so I'm just going to try this. I picked up all the items that I'd sent around previously, so now I'm going to freak on this again and watch this go around. And it was one right at the top here, which was really strange because all the kelp did make it round, but it was one just here. It broke, and that's getting picked up again, isn't it? So is that another one there that I've missed? Right, okay, more maintenance. Right, so I've just sent them around again, and this time they did get all the way around, but the problem was this wasn't long enough, so I've only got 4 in there. That's probably why. So I think if I just double that, actually, that should be enough. So let's go packed ice. I'll take you out, put the packed ice in there. So 8, I believe, should be more than enough for everything to go all the way around. Right, so I have the stone, and now, as the stone is one of the last filters, this is actually a good test. So let's put that into there, and we should see another stack of stone come in. So let's get up there, because it's going to be a while before it gets there, because it needs to go all the way around the top 3 levels, and then it'll come to this last level and come into here. So we've just got full stacks in there now. So in theory, this should fill up a full stack over here. Right, so we should start seeing them coming in now, if this filter's working properly. No, it won't do, will it? Because I didn't do the stone filter, did I? I just did the cobblestone. Right, so full stack made it all the way around. That's good. Right, so that's turned off, and it made it round before then. So 8 is definitely enough. That's good. Let's try that again. Now that we've got the filter in for the stone, let's put that there. Right, so those are coming in now. So we should see that build up to a stack, and then I'll be happy that this thing is working. So I'm going to check one on the other side behind me, because that is the last filter. So I think it's the oak logs. So we'll send some of those around after putting the filter in, obviously, and then we should be good to go. So yeah, we've got a stack of stone there. That's good. So oak logs is the last one in here. So I should have some oak somewhere. Right, we've got a stack there, but I need some more for the filter, don't I? So yeah, I'll go grab some more at my other bit. But let's, where's the filter again? This is going to be such a pain to do this. This one here, so that's the last filter. So let's put the oak logs in there. Right, so let's take 3 stacks of oak logs. I'm going to send all of those round, and with the filter in, that should work. Okay, so 3 stacks of oak logs in there. Now let's stick some orange terracotta in as well, and that should end up in the junk chest up there. Right, so happy that that is going to last long enough. I just need to make sure that all the items get around, and then we end up with 3 stacks of oak logs in the chest. So let's just make sure it's empty, so we know what we're comparing it to. Right, it's 51 in there, so let's take those out, and in a minute or so we should have 3 stacks of oak logs in there. Right, let's do it. Come on. Right, so there we go. The oak logs are almost there now, so we just need to make sure that gets to 3 stacks, and we should be good. Okay, that's good. So, and this is the final filter that they go past as well, so that was good to check that, and I just need to see how far this is. It's probably, oh, that's down to 3. So it's got down to these. So I could probably take an item out of there, but it's not a big deal leaving it running for a little bit longer, is it? So that's not too bad. I'm happy with that. So I think with that, we're there. So now I just need to go through the extremely painful task of one, figuring out where everything is going to go, and that's those gone off. And then the second thing is actually putting the filters in. So I need to get into the water streams, don't I, after I figured out where I want to put everything. So I've got these few picked out already, just in this little bit here. And all these iron blocks, I didn't say this, but these are the placeholders for the items, or the marker items that says what's in those chests. So yeah, this is going to be fun, isn't it? But that's not something I'm going to do today because, yeah, it's a long, boring job. So I'm going to do that between episodes. And I think that is a good place to leave it. I've got a lot more work to do, but I'm very happy with this. And hopefully this is going to be a very usable storage system. And it's nowhere near done yet. We've got a lot more to do. This is just the start of it. We're going to get the copper columns going on some multi-item storage. We're going to get a shulker box loader for some bulk item storage. And yeah, it's going to be good. So if you have enjoyed this episode, please do leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more. And I'll see you again next time. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye-bye.